What's up everybody, my name is Tonny and I'm here with another Warframe guide video. In this video we will be looking at Hybrid Atlas Prime or Umbral Atlas Prime, and in this video we will be looking at different abilities from Warframes that Atlas Prime can use. Now I have two builds for you, but before we get into the build, let's take a look at the appearance real fast. I got the Karis helmet and skin, attachments, Magratosin, there's Vengeful Shockwave Ephemera, Sindana, Stratum Sindana, and finally the Regalia or Regalia with Katir Sakara. So let's look at the first build, and that would be the Great Wall. So what this build does is basically specifies, or is more specific into the Tectonics. That is why I have the tectonic fractures here. It allows me to create 3 walls. For the Arcanes, Arcane Energize and Arcane Guardian. If you guys don't have a problem with energy, replace Arcane Energize with Grace. Now as you guys can see, this build is all about being tanky as well as making the Tectonics health pretty big. That's all you do. So with that, I have the Defy, which allows me to get 750 armor, which is the cap for this ability, within 1.445 seconds. So basically if I get just hit like 1 or twice, I should get 750. 1.45 seconds of time invulnerability is actually enough time to get that 750. Just look at the damage multiplier, that's insane. And the radius, yeah, it's whatever. Duration, 18 seconds, that's enough time to use that armor buff for Tectonics. Allows you to do around 40,000 health maybe, or 32 or 30 something thousand health. That's a lot. And with this build you can also use the Petrify if you guys want to, with the stone duration at 14.5 seconds. You guys can get some rubble for health. Same thing with the Rumblers, you can just spawn these and just kill them instantly, or just let them be. At 32 seconds that should be enough. The damage they do, that should be also enough. So you can use all 3 of these abilities, but you guys obviously can't use Landslide. So I have Umber Intensify with Umber Fiber to get the extra strength and armor. I got the Saxum Carapace and Carnus Carapace here. Or is it Carapace? I guess it's called Carapace. So the Carapace mods here, they're pretty good. I mean, they give health and armor, so that's really good. Transient Fortitude for damage, or the strength actually, and Blind Rage for strength. Streamline for efficiency. Now with that you can actually cast all these 2 abilities within the 263 energy right here. So what I'm saying is 62.5, 62.5. You should have enough energy to cast 4 of these within a quick succession. Power Drift is a must have, and Steel Charge is up to you guys when you use Steel Charge. But when it comes to the aura, you guys can use Growing Power instead. For me, I'm going to use Steel Charge because I don't want to Forma this again. And you know what? I don't have any Umbra Formas at all. And for my second build, I definitely don't want to Forma because it's going to ruin my second build. The Great One, or the One Punch build. So this build allows you to do 1 million damage per punch if you're very lucky with crits. Now I'm going to show you guys the build on the melee very soon. But first, let's take a look at this build first. And that is with the Steel Charge. I highly recommend using Steel Charge over Growing Power because of the mod capacity. Power Drift, that's a must-have. Umber Intensify. Streamline is a must-have because of the Blind Rage with negative efficiency. Hunter Adrenaline, you guys don't really need to put this on unless you guys are pretty squishy. But I think Hunter Adrenaline works really well. If you guys do not want to Forma this, at least put Rage in there, that also works as well. But I think Hunter Adrenaline is just a little bit better. Path of Statues, if you guys do not use Petrify, Path of Statues is a great mod for this. Time Flow is a must-have for energy. Shock Trooper, so this is great against any enemy with armor. You don't really need to cast the Shock Trooper on every single enemy type. So if there's like a flesh enemy, you could just straight up just punch him. But if there's like a really armored unit, Shock Trooper will help you here. Arcane Energize for the energy, and Arcane Fury for the crits when you do crits. It just enhances your crits basically. So let's take a look at the melee weapon now. So when it comes to the melee weapon for the Landslide, you guys can use whatever melee weapon you guys want. For me, I personally choose TEKKO because it's Atlas signature weapon, and not only that, it also increases the status chance by 5% passively. So it comes with it basically for if you equipped it with Atlas. Now with this build, I basically do crits around at a 12x multiplier. I do crits for like I would say 90% or 80% of the time, maybe 70%. It's even though it says 150, I would say it's a little bit less than that when you guys are doing Landslide. So I'll show you guys the demonstration on that. Let's take a look at the Ribbon though. 180 to critical chance, 93 to status chance, and 85 to critical damage. That's pretty good. I re-rolled it 37 times just to get these stats. Now obviously when you guys are using ribbons, you guys want to make sure you get some raw damage on here, like for instance melee damage, status damage, those type of stats. I have Sacrificial Steel here because why not? I mean, it's a sacrificial build as well. Pressure points, Prime Fury Strike, Gladiator Might for the critical damage, same thing with Organ Shatter, Blood Rush for the multiplier because you'll be using a lot of multiplier benefits here. Then you got Weeping Wounds here. Now obviously you guys do not want to use TEKKO Prime if you guys are going to be using this. So for instance, let's say you guys want to use a different weapon besides TEKKO Prime. Well, Jaw Sword would help a lot because of its special mod that allows 100% melee damage. And you got Kogaki Prime for the movement speed passive. So that's pretty good as well. So there's other weapons out there. You guys can use hammers, you guys can use whatever you want. Just make sure that you guys have a Riven at least, because I think if you guys put a Riven on this, you would do 1 million damage. But what about people that don't use Rivens though? Well, I've got a build for that. Drifting Contact for the combo duration and status chance, but you know what, when it comes to status chance, I don't think it matters. So just combo duration is best here. Shocking Touch here for the raw damage. Prime Pressure Point, Fever Strike, Heavy Trauma. Spoiler Strike for the damage, not the attack speed. Again, with more electricity. Collision Force. So if you guys have a very good impact weapon, since the Landslide does impact damage, if you guys have a weapon that does really good impact damage, putting the Heavy Trauma and Collision Force will be very helpful for a Landslide. For the Focus Tree, you guys can use Narmon for the Power Spike here, or you guys can use Zenric for energy, but do not use Moderai. Now I'm going to explain this. Moderai's, I think it's Phoenix Spirit and Phoenix Talents does not work on Landslide. So these two don't work on this. So don't put Moderai on here. It's just a waste. Unless you guys are going to be using Voice Strike, but that's kind of weird. So again, just Narmon or Zenric is best for the Atlas Landslide. So I'm going to test a non-Riven build with the Landslide so you guys can see how much damage it does at 12x multiplier. I'm going to do this on the Orphan Spectre just in case I kill the other enemies really quickly. So Orphan Spectres I think are the best here for testing this out. I'll get some energy over here. Alright, so I'm not going to use Shock Trooper, I'm just going to do raw damage first because I want to get that multiplier out there. It's a lot of them, that's great. What's my multiplier now? Let me try using the fist first to increase the multiplier. And for those that don't use Landslide but want to know how much damage I do with the TEKKO Prime without Riven, here it is what it looks like here. 7x, come on, I need 8x. 9x, 10, 11, 12, alright. I don't have energy though, uh-oh. If I were to compare this with my Riven version, this is a little bit weak. Because I don't really see 1 million damage, nor does the crits proc. So, it's mostly doing raw damage. But it's pretty good damage though. I mean, I can't really see the numbers that well. But I believe it's going to 1 million. Yep, it does go on 1 million once in a while. And these are just Spectres too, and they're pretty tanky. With Robo Heap, if you guys don't use that, you guys can replace it with another mod of your choice, doesn't matter. But I think Robo Heap will double the damage. So if you do 1 million damage, you would do 2 million damage instead. I think that's how it works. I already killed them already. Okay, so let's go for the second example. And this one's going to be the Riven version now. Alright, time to build that multiplier now. Oh my gosh. I might need to spawn another set of Spectres here because they're getting really destroyed. Now I wish that D allows us to test this on Steel Path enemies instead of like the default enemies scaling thing, because you know what, these guys are just getting destroyed right now. Yeah, I'm going close to 1 million or something like that. 7x. Okay, I'm gonna need to spawn another one maybe. 8x. Okay, let's try using the punch now at 8x so you guys can see. No energy, of course. So with this, I don't do orange crits, no red crits, but as you guys can see, I'm doing yellow crits constantly. And what's the multiplier now? That's 12x. Alright, so this is what 12x looks like. You guys can see I'm doing like 80 to 70% crit chance. 90%, I would say it's 90%. So my theory on critical chance on how it works on Landslide is that we start at 5% of critical chance and status chance. Every 10% is basically 1% added to the Landslide. That's what I'm thinking. So if we take a good look at the build, this is my theory. This is my crackpot theory, I'll call it. Oops, wrong weapon. So this is the theory I have here. So I'm starting at 150 right here. The Landslide starts at 5%. So I just add 5 plus 15. That's already 20% of critical chance. Adding this with Blood Rush, 60 times what, 12x multiplier. So that's around, my math sucks, but 720 probably. So it's 20 plus 72, that's like 92. So basically I get a 92% crit chance on Landslide. I think that's just my theory. If you guys know the math behind it, just tell me in the comments section below, because I'm not sure what the math is, but that's my theory on that. Same thing applies to Weapon Runes. At 12x multiplier for 40% chance, that's 48. This is plus 6, so it starts at 5% on Landslide, so 5 plus 6 with this status. That's 11. So that's around 58. 58, my math is probably around 58, 59 status chance on this. That's not bad. I mean, 50% chance to do status is not bad. Now, you guys might notice that I haven't even used Shock Trooper yet. That's insane. No Shock Trooper, I haven't even used that yet. So I'm going to show you guys the Shock Trooper version, which I totally forgot. But that's on purpose though. Let's do this one more time. I'm going to go ahead and increase my multiplier before I use Shock Trooper. I'm going to start it at 6x so you guys can see. I think 12x is just, I think that's too OP. I'm going to do it at 6x. Alright, Shock Trooper. So the way it works is, you cast Shock Trooper as soon as you can. Oh, okay, hold on, let me get my energy first. Shock Trooper, punch. So instead of doing toxin damage, Shock Trooper works as a mod, like a 9th slot on your melee weapon. So you can do like corrosive procs right here. I didn't cast it. I just realized I didn't cast it. Let's try it one more time. Okay, I just realized I'm using the wrong ability this entire time. Well, you guys can see why I don't use Petrify. There we go. Finally did it. I just realized that. Alright, that's okay. At least you guys can see the example of Petrify. I mean, yeah. Let's try. Let's keep spawning enemies because I think that's a little bit too quick. Let me do a refresh of the Shock Trooper. You guys can always refresh Shock Trooper whenever you guys want, so you don't have to wait for the duration. I think I just saw 2 million damage. I'm not sure what I just saw. Now don't forget, I didn't even use Rebel Heap yet. So Rebel Heap is great for the endgame. I would consider this an endgame build. Super endgame, super endurance. Holy crap, look at that. Now if you kill him too quick, now this is kind of weird, I'm not sure why, but if you guys kill him way too fast, you don't get the Rebel. Because they're too squishy and such, and yeah, that's 3 million right there. So if your critical chance procs, you do 3 million, or you do a bunch of damage. But again, if you kill them way too fast and your Landslide doesn't proc the stone duration, you won't get the Rebel. So now you guys have seen what the abilities can do, but what about other abilities? Well, let's take a look at the first build, which is the Tectonics build. Second pick, in my opinion, that's best for this build would be the Chroma's Elemental Ward. With the code Elemental, you're able to do reflection damage at 9.72 multiplier. And of course, the status of that would be 81% for code and at a duration of 29 seconds. And don't forget the armor at 486, which will help buff the Tectonics. And the third pick would be Breach Surge. The way this works is that it launches homing missiles at enemies if an enemy is killed or hit if they're blinded. So 10% if they're hit and 100% if they're killed. It's pretty great for nuking or AoE. With the stats of my build, you get 6.48 damage and 11 seconds of duration with 64% chance of status. The next build will be Landslide. Second pick for the build. Second pick for the ability here would be Smite Infusion at 282 damage. Same thing as Shock Trooper, of course. And third pick would be the War at around 60 to 90% damage buff. And it does faction damage too, so don't forget. And that is it for this video. Hopefully this video helps you guys a little bit on Atlas. If it does, give it a like, subscribe to support my channel. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time, peace out.